All right, so we have Mike Tomlin's post-game press conference. Now, this is going to be coming out the same day as his Week 16 press conference for the lead up to Baltimore, just because I didn't realize or think that he was going to do his press conference so quick. If it was a Thursday game, I would have been like, okay, yeah, the press conference is going to be Monday. With it being a Saturday game, I thought maybe it was still going to be Tuesday, but it is in fact Monday. So your guys are going to get Tomlin, the players, and Tomlin again today. So let's get into his post-game press conference from Week 15 versus the Eagles.
Man, we had a penalty going in that forced us to settle for a field goal. We turned the ball over on the short field and got no points. And there were several possession downs on defense where we had opportunities to tackle ball carriers in the flat, and we missed those tackles, and that produced extended drives and thus points. And so that's life in our business. It's not anything mystical. It's very fundamental. We got to play discipline. We got to secure the ball. We got to tackle. And we didn't do some of those fundamental things well enough tonight to secure victory. And so although it sucks, man, we learn and we proceed and move forward. From a health standpoint, Justin Fields, man, had an abdominal injury. Don't know the extent of that. On that slide, he injured his abdominal. Dante Jackson had a back injury, wasn't able to return. And TJ had an ankle. I think that can be described as a low ankle at this juncture, but I have more information for you the next time we get together. Questions?
Mike, you guys were fighting back in that turnover down in their 26 or whatever was taking that point, not just one.
But as I mentioned, there were several plays like that were significant. Settling for a field goal when we had the ball maybe around the one is significant. Not making tackles in the flat when we have a chance to make those tackles on possession downs are significant. And so, you can point to one play, but more than anything, when I look at it through the lens in which I look at it, we weren't good enough in some fundamental areas tonight, and we own that, particularly as coaches.
Offensively, what kept you from being more consistent?
Again, we started slow, but again, you got to give some credit to those guys. I wasn't necessarily overly concerned about the start. The starts are not going to define us. But again, I think largely when you look at the big picture, it's those fundamental things I outlined.
What wasn't working in the pass defense tonight?
I don't know that, I feel that way. I just thought that we didn't win enough possession downs. They possessed the ball. Like I mentioned, we didn't tackle well enough, and that's life.
26 seconds to call the timeout after TJ sack. What was your thought process?
I got caught up, man, in some information, and I'll just leave it at that.
Coach, what wasn't working with the run game?
They did a nice job. They get in those six-man fronts, man, to make you block individual, and one man wins a block, man, and it creates issues for you. And I thought they did a nice job.
It looked like Darnell was punched on that scuffle in there. What explanation did you receive from the officials?
Not a sufficient one.
Like, how do you keep this loss from snowballing and carrying into the next two games?
It's a loss. Let's not get dramatic.
Mike, playoffs are always a goal. You did play your playoff spot from some outside. Does that matter to you at all?
Not as I stand here today. We had a game to play today. We wanted to win it, and we didn't. And so, some of that other stuff is less relevant to us.
Anyone else?
Just to clarify, did they call Darnell for blocking him into?
I'll let them explain that sequence.
I believe there is a full report coming.
Yeah, it is. That's why. Why should I explain it?
You've been asking about the missed tackles. How much of that was concerning, just how they were able to back off?
Again, as I outlined in my opening statement, I thought it was significant.
Anyone else?
Thanks, guys.
All right. So not too much here from Coach T. So Fields, Jackson, Watt, all coming out of here with some injuries, which I would say Watt being the most prevalent of the three, or the most worrisome, I guess. He's the biggest player for sure. And and he has an ankle injury. Jackson with the back injury. Now, I think it was one of the recent games where he left. I think it was the Browns game, where so literally last game he left, and there was something about him having an illness, like being sick, and it's like, okay, Myles Garrett, he he had an illness that he was dealing with as well, and but I also saw something that says Dante was dealing with back spasms. So that could be related to that as well. And Fields having the abdominal injury. I would say then that's from the hit he took that did draw a flag. And that's so tough when a quarterback slides late. It makes it so hard for a defensive player. Like, you essentially can't commit until you know he's sliding. Or, it's so hard because, or I guess not commit. You can't commit to a decision, I'll say that, until you basically see him slide, because you can literally go, and if you have already gone and they slide, you're going to get flagged. It's so tough for defensive players in this version of the NFL. When he says caught up in information, that is a new one. I've never heard that from Tomlin before, so I'm curious as to what he means by that. And just to quickly talk about Darnell's blocking, that gave me very much the Blind Side vibes, where the one defensive guy against Michael Orr gets a couple good plays, right? And then Orr on I think it was a running play maybe, or maybe a screen, I can't remember. But basically, literally takes the guy and just forces him backwards. Goes all the way through the back of the end zone and forces him over the barrier. Flag comes out, and they call him for excessive blocking or something. I can't remember. Maybe it was excessive force, excessive blocking, I think. But then it comes to the sideline. Michael, where were you taking him? To the bus. It was time for him to go home. And that really feels like that's what Darnell did to Darius Slay. Literally just took him and drove him back through the back of the end zone up to the wall right where the stands are. And, I really don't understand why it was the Steelers players getting flagged. And here's the thing as well, right? The refs might miss a punch or something, let's say. And that happens. Well, they threw the flag. So now you can go to replay review and get help from New York to say, okay, here's what we got. And here's anyone who may deserve to be ejected from the game. And Darius Slay even talked to the press and said, yeah, I'm a little surprised no one got ejected. He was thankful that no one got ejected, but he was a little surprised by it. So, the Eagles players, and even then, you can see there was actually a video of someone who was literally, front row of the end zone, and they had a great shot of the fight. And you can see punches by the Eagles players. So the fact that, only the Steelers were called, because typically in a fight like that, you call it on both. Offsetting penalties, if it's after the play, then nothing. If it's during the play, then it's replay the down. So I just feel like there were, between that and a couple other things, the Steelers really they shot themselves in the foot here. Philly clearly the better team. Not to say that they weren't the better team, but it would have been a closer game had Pittsburgh not shot itself in the foot. Between that, Najee's fumble, not taking better. Trying to think of the right word. Not taking better. Not making better use of their opportunities, I'll say. The fumble by Hurts and a fumble by Cooper DeJean, and they came away with 3 points off those 2 turnovers in which they both started, I believe, in Philly territory. So, and then Philly, just their ability to possess the ball, because at the end of the first half, Philly had 1 more minute of time of possession than Pittsburgh did. Which it's like, okay, we're in this, right? Well, the game ended with like 20 minutes of time of possession difference. So we literally went from 1 minute to 20 minutes as far as time of possession difference. Philly just took the ball, held on to it, and said, Pittsburgh can't win if they can't score points if we don't give them the ball back. And down 2 scores, 4th and 7 or whatever it was, and Tomlin decides to punt. By the way, the punt, Jalen Carter, that happened before the punt. So I'm not sure what they were looking at that said that that penalty happened after the punt. The flag was thrown after the punt, but not the penalty itself. There was one camera angle where Jalen Carter does that to Connor Hayward, and you literally see the ball fly through the air afterwards. Like, literally, we have a shot of that and then ball. So, instead of a fresh set of downs for Pittsburgh, it was half the distance to the goal for Philly, and Pittsburgh never saw the ball again with 10 minutes and change left, which is absolutely insane. So, tough loss, but, I mean, Pittsburgh with a win would have clinched playoffs. And then it was with a loss and a Miami loss and Indy loss, they would have clinched the playoffs. So both teams lost, so they still clinched the playoffs. But Saturday versus Baltimore, it's for the division. So if Pittsburgh can win, then they automatically win the division. And the way that works is that Pittsburgh can only be, if they win, at worst 11-6. And Baltimore, if they were to lose, the best they can be is 11-6. And at that point, Pittsburgh breaks the tie with the 2 wins over them. So it's not over as far as division-wise if Baltimore were to win, but it makes it a lot harder. So if Pittsburgh can walk away with the win in Baltimore, which I believe they've won 8 out of the last 9 matchups versus Baltimore. So they do win in Baltimore. Like, it's not like a unheard of thing. Like, no, they win in Baltimore often. So it's going to be a challenge for that. It was a challenge for this game. But let's get to the players in the next video. So if you guys did enjoy this, please do leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, turn notifications on, and I will see all you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.